Like, honestly, in the last 3 years, I've had 4 wellness checks and I was in the hospital twice. They just ask a question like, are you suicidal? I said, yeah. You think about it? Yeah. Have you thought of a plan? Oh, yeah. I thought of a plan all the time. You got any ways of doing it? Oh, yeah. 100 different ways. Do you this? Do you that? Yeah. Yeah. I think about it. Think about it. Boom. Like, that's the end of the conversation. The police are there.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough, and when we do talk about it, many of us, we're not good at it. We don't listen well, and that is a problem. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with attempt survivors, in large part to help more people in more places feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. I've been doing that as best I can since July of 2020, and I will keep doing it. I can say with a lot of confidence until I'm dead. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor or ideator and you would like to talk, I would love to talk with you. Please reach out. Our email is hello@suicidenoted.com. You can check the show notes or podcast description to learn more about the podcast, our membership, other services we offer, speaking, volunteering. Check it out if you are curious. If you listen on Apple, a quick rating and review helps a lot. It helps people find the podcast. The same for Spotify, which is a little wonky with their ratings and reviews, but you should find a poll under each episode. Last week's question, are you scared to die? This week's question, though I've yet to put it out as I record this, will be something around assisted suicide. I would love to know how you feel or what you think about these. Finally, we are talking about suicide on this podcast. My guests and I don't typically hold back, so please take that into account before you listen or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Kevin. Kevin lives in Ontario, and he is a suicide attempt survivor. Mr. Kevin, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Not bad. Were you in a car?
Yeah. Piece of shit Jeep.
You're in Ontario, right?
Yeah, Ontario.
Okay, go Leafs. You ready to jump in?
You can ask me anything you want. I got tough skin.
Like, do you think that I'm here to play softball with you? Come on.
I know.
You've heard the podcast. All right, so here we are. You're Kevin. You're smoking a cigarette. You got a hat on. You have more hair than me. Kind of pisses me off, but despite that, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
How many suicide attempts do you have? I know it's not a tiny number and it may not be an exact number.
I don't know. Over 20 maybe. When I was younger, suicide was more like a cool thing.
Was it?
When I grew up, I was a metalhead. So I grew up 12 years old and my album was Diary of a Madman from Ozzy Osbourne, Metallica and songs like that. And it was just, I can remember just sitting around with friends and, we'd have knives in our hands and we'd have guns and we just did weird shit with it. And it was just a different time. I know it's weird, but I've been listening to some different podcasts and professionals and all that. I really think that the mainstream has it wrong. It has to be taken on with different stages. Like the difference between somebody who's 50 like me and somebody who's 14 or 16 is like night and day. Like right now, if I go back and tell my 16-year-old self and 12 and 13-year-old self that tried to commit suicide, I'd say, your whole life is in front of you. What you're going through is nothing. Like you're in for it. If this is the hard part. When you're 14, that is your world, right? Yeah.
14-year-old Kevin and 50-year-old Kevin are different.
Like I ran away at 11 years old. So I've basically been on my own since 11 and 12. Put a different mentality in me.
That's a young age to be on your own.
Yeah, it is. I have 2 children and I couldn't imagine my children being on the street at 11 and 12. I was 12 years old and my parents wouldn't even let me in the house. They'd lock the door and not let me in the house. Like that was part of the way of making your kid a better kid back in the early 80s.
Okay. But for you, better or not better, you ran away.
Yeah. And then it got to the point where I got kicked out and the doors were locked and I wasn't allowed back in. And, from there, it just, it went sideways and drugs and crime and all that stuff.
When was your first suicide attempt? How old were you?
I believe I was 12. I got my stomach pumped for taking too many Tylenol or aspirin or something like that. It was just something stupid.
You say your family was in a program called Tough Love. Is that's not an actual official program, right? That's just what they did. They loved you tough.
No, no, no. I'm pretty sure it was a program because it was big in the States. Like they even put me in a camp for a month. Back in the 80s, there was an epidemic of runaway kids. They didn't know what to do with them. Of course, I was pretty bad. So they used me as basically like a guinea pig for this organization. And you can look it up. It's called Tough Love. And like, if the stuff done 30 years ago was done today, like they'd all be thrown in jail. Like,
What was some of the stuff, if you want to share, like that was tough? How did they love you tough?
they'd lock you out. Like at 12 years old, I was locked out of my house and I wasn't allowed back in. Like I can remember yelling and screaming to let me in and da 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 because home is home. You think that's your only home, but before that, they brought over like 4 or 5 parents and my aunt. Well, a good friend, what we call her an aunt. She was like a co-founder for the area. Basically, my parents looked to them as whatever they say is gold. And yeah, they came over and they tied me to a chair. They made me listen to all these rules that they had that I had to follow in the house. And if I didn't follow them, I would be kicked out. I know this sounds strange, because it's what parents would kick their kids out at that age. It was really common back then. Like it wasn't just me. It was I had friends and cousins and it happened to two. So anyways, they tied me up. They left me overnight in the kitchen. And when they untied me the next day, there was couple more parents that came over and tied me. And then that's when I really ran away for like basically good.
What are the guidelines, if you recall, for tough love when your kid runs away at 12? What are they supposed to do then?
I wouldn't be able to answer that correctly. I know that they wouldn't let you back in the house. The bad would get put in camps where they'd treat you like it's like an army camp. It was just a different time back in that setting. Like,
how do you survive hanging out? Like you staying with friends? Are you homeless?
homeless, yeah, but it was more like couch surfing, or I would hang out at my aunt's or somebody like that. And back then it was, as long as you were with somebody, they didn't really say too much and you had to go to school. Like, remember, I was doing this the whole time I'm doing this. I'm actually going to elementary school. If you didn't go to school, they would put you in like a jail or a camp. You always thought, like the treating officers and all that. I just went from place to place to place, and there's some parks that we lived in, and but it wasn't just me. Like I wasn't the only kid out on the street. There was more kids, and there was probably more kids that had it worse than I ever did, and that's why when I look at the homeless today, I say to myself, like, I know it looks a lot worse, and there's more, and the numbers are bigger. But one thing I see that's so much different that I'd be so proud of is there's no children as much. In my day, they treated us like vagrants, like scum, like we were the worst people, wearing leather jackets and long hair. And
now you got a denim jacket on. Things have changed.
yeah, I'm still wearing a Metallica shirt too.
So when you're in your like early teens, I know you've already attempted to take your life once. Is that a trend that kind of continues during those years of struggling and attempting, ideating, all that?
Yeah, it got worse in I'd say the early 80s. It was just drugs all day, every day. Everything was just about drugs, 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 and how I was going to get them. And so a lot of crime had to be done. Things that I'll never be able to forgive myself for. But
you were trying to survive. When you say crimes, and you don't have to talk about it in depth if you don't want to, were you like robbing people, places, burglar type stuff, or?
Oh yeah, very much so. All the above.
You ever get involved in anything sort of physically harming people?
Yes, but I grew up in a time where you never hit children. Well, that's not true because
you just tie them up in the kitchen all night.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's different too. Back then, like I can remember getting dragged out of church at 9, and my dad's beating the shit out of me walking down the aisle, and nobody bats an eye. I put a whoopee cushion underneath my mom when she sat down, and if I set the scene for you, I'm 9, 10, 11, and I got long hair with a leather jacket and a jean jacket on, and I'm listening to Iron Maiden. Back then it was 666, the number of the beast. I just hated religion. So no, I'm not Catholic. I'm not any of that shit.
I'm not surprised.
This is the first time I've really ever done anything like this, talk like this. So
Oh, is that right?
kind of like in depth, I guess you could say. With the therapist, you can only say so much.
Thanks for trusting me because you're 54 years old, right?
Mhm.
Isn't that fucked up?
Yes, it is fucked up.
Like, what happened to us?
I don't know. We all have our own stories, and that's what I mean with the stages with that suicide stuff. Like when I was a kid, it was more like just compulsion. You know what I mean? Like it would just be something that you would just do on compulsion. Whereas the older
Mm-hmm.
you get now, it's just you just dwell and dwell and dwell, and it gets to the point where it's just like who really fucking gives a fuck anymore? 54, it's embarrassing.
Wait, what's embarrassing?
Just the thought of talking about it. Like I'm fucking 54 years old and I'm in like the worst part of my life that I've ever been in. And it's like grow the fuck up and get some fucking balls.
I mean, I only know you from the last 20 minutes, so I don't know shit, but pretty ballsy to come on and talk to a kind of stranger about this stuff.
Well, it's because I've tried. Like I've been in the system my whole life. Like I've seen it and I've experienced it, lived it. I just realized now that nobody really gives a fucking flying fuck. They really fucking don't. Like I know this is disrespectful for all these people that go out there and do this every day, and I love them. You know what I mean? These people that do all this mental health stuff, like you yourself. Like if you weren't doing this stuff, like nobody would talk about it. And if you don't talk about it, then it's just going to get worse. I realize that from my elders telling me that. Now that I'm older, I realize it. If you got an infection and if you don't take care of it, it just gets worse. I've been through the system. I've seen the system, and now like the stuff I'm hearing now today is just even it's even fucking worse. It's weird, but we pump millions or billions or whatever into the system for like stuff like suicide, mental health. In my view, I think it makes people worse in certain situations. Like my situation, like I had a bad trauma when I was a kid. So now they think that they're going to be able to cure it in an hour. Once a week, I see a therapist and we talk about fucking, like the weather and shit. You waste like probably 20 minutes of the hour doing that. And then in the last 20 minutes, they get you and you got to get into this MDR shit where you're holding these vibrating things and you're looking at these dots and they take you to the fucking deepest, darkest fucking place that you can go. Like you don't even go there because it's so dark and deep. But these guys fucking bring you there. And then they say, oh, fucking time's up.
Hands up.
See you next fucking week for another fucking hour. You know what I mean? Like some people are just, we need more than a fucking hour. It's just fucking bullshit.
What kind of cigarettes do you smoke?
They kind of get me sent to jail. How's that sound?
Really? That gets you
Yeah.
sent to jail?
Oh, yeah.
So when you were a kid in the Catholic Church, I'm going by this email again. I'm referencing back a little bit, okay? And you talk about some dark or heavy stuff. You were abused, yeah?
Yes.
By a priest?
Yes.
Repeatedly. I'm going by the email. That's why if people are wondering, Sean, how do you know this? Like, I don't usually do it this way, but you shared a lot in that email, or a lot was shared. You were a kid, teenager?
Well, if I could set the stage for you a bit, like I said, I ran away at 11 and I was homeless and I got into a lot of trouble. Did a little bit of young offenders jail stunt and I got in a lot more trouble and it just got worse and worse to the point where they said that I could go to this rehabilitation center. It was the only one like it in the world. Like it was, it was the only one like it in the world. And it was like where the worst of the worst go, basically. Yeah. So I went to that place and they said, if you go to that place, then you're not going to go to jail. And remember, right now I weigh 128 pounds. So back then I'm like 60 pounds. And when you go to jail and stuff like this, I was a small fish in a really big pond, but I was terrified. And so I went to this place instead. Yeah, the guy that owned it or ran it was a Catholic priest. And for the first 2 months, it was, as normal gets, I guess. Yeah, I went to that place. Fuck. After 2 months, the guy that owned it, he just started abusing me in different ways that you can't even believe. I can't even explain it, to tell you the truth, because, I grew up, I played sports my whole life. I was My friends all had long hair. They drove fucking motorcycles and you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. When I had all that stuff done and I basically ran away, I couldn't tell anybody.
You didn't want to talk about being abused.
Well, that and the fact that I didn't think anybody would believe me because I was a homeless kid, basically there because the court said it's either there or jail. I couldn't come out and say stuff like that because if I did, then I thought that people would have thought that I was like that, which, not that there's anything wrong with it, I guess, but just not me. I was just such a huge thing back then to prove that you weren't.
So you're 54 now. That happened, like 40 or so years ago. And in this time, you had 20 plus attempts. So I'm imagining you're struggling hard for most of your life. Was there a stretch where it was not super hard? You weren't ideating or thinking about ending your life or trying to end your life?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had a good 12 to 15 years. I was 32, 31, 32.
31, 32 to like your mid 40s, you're okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit more about before then, but I'm curious to know what was going on then that you felt okay and you were doing okay.
It was the first time I held my daughter and my life it just changed. I just looked at this baby and it's like, I'm not going to let anything ever happen to this child nothing that what I went through and stuff like that. And my whole life changed. Like I quit smoking dope. I quit doing coke. I quit drinking. I stopped talking to the friends that I used to talk to. I just put everything towards doing my best for my two daughters.
Oh, you had two daughters. What's their ages?
Now they're 25 and 23.
12 plus year stretch of being a dad to youngish girls as they grow older, obviously. And do you have a partner at that time? You're doing it solo?
I had a partner. I was married and we got divorced and there was, a big fucking shit show with all that kind of stuff too, which pushed into more attempts. I just started kind of giving up and just so pissed off at the system.
Do you want to kill someone?
Yeah, I wanted to, yeah. I went up to try to kill the priest. To me, I think the best thing that I ever could have done is not say anything. There's really no help out there for my, kind of like my situation, I feel, and my generation and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to sound like a kid about it. It's just, for me, it makes everything worse.
So how do you get by, before your daughters are born? Let's say you're mid, late teens, 20s. Is it mostly similar kind of life or like, how do you eat food?
Most of my homeless where it was on the streets was before I was basically 16. Like once I got my license and, I was working and stuff and, I had my own place at young age or else I was living at other people's houses. So I wasn't homeless after, the ages of 16 or 17. There was times I was, but it was just a lot of crime and whatever we could to get drugs.
But this is for years.
Yeah, just years after years. Like I went to that rehab center because my drugs were so bad, and then it just got worse when I got out.
When was that? When was the rehab center?
1985.
I have a sense of what your life is like, but how often do you think about killing yourself, and how often do you try? Because I think you said there were multiple attempts.
I think about it on a daily basis, all the time. In the last 3 years, it has been every day, and in the last 3 years at least, I've had 7 or 8 attempts.
When you were 15 to 32.
Yes, I tried a few different ways. I tried the silly method of putting a hose in the window, carbon dioxide, but unlike the movies, all it did to me is give me a headache for like 2-3 days and I was puking. And this is where it gets into the embarrassing part too, is just talking about it. It's just embarrassing even to bring it up. But one time I went and my rope wasn't long enough to go over the fucking branch. I always put stuff around my neck and tried it that way. It's just, I don't think it's the dying part that I want. I just want all the other stuff just to go fucking away. I've tried all your programs and all your things and they just.
And in your email, I also read that one time you laid in front of a railroad tracks?
2-3 years ago. Yeah.
That was more recent.
Yeah, that was more recent with the railroad tracks.
Okay, so you have these handful of attempts in your teens and 20s. You have your two daughters. Okay. You said from about 32 years old to about 45 years old, things were decent.
Yes. Maybe even a little bit longer than that, too. Like, I couldn't do anything wrong because if I didn't want the kids to be taken away from me, so.
So a lot of the stuff you were doing when you were younger, like you said, you stopped and you stayed that way. And you were a dad to these two girls, living life, getting by.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No ideating, no wanting to die.
Yes, in my own little way, but it was controllable because the thought of taking care of my daughters was stronger than anything else. But I was still getting anxiety attacks 3, 4 times a week. I was still getting night terrors every night. I was able to deal with them because I had bigger priorities in my life.
Two little human beings that needed you. That's a pretty big motivator.
Yeah.
And they're grown up now.
Oh, yeah, they're grown up. When I raised them, I was on that PTA for the teachers. I was the only man on there, and I'm telling you, holy shit. Yeah, I was the only man for years. And remember all the shit that I did. I did it at the school where my kids are going to. And my two sisters went there too. And I just did the best I could. How can I say this then? When I was with my daughters, I didn't have any fears. Like all I felt was like a protector, and it's the best feeling I ever had, to tell you the truth. Now they're older and living with their boyfriends and da 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 da. Oh, fuck.
Did they know about what you went through as a kid?
I told them about, I think it was like 3 years ago, because I had to tell them because my youngest daughter was involved when I was laying on the tracks because, the police are looking for her, that kind of fucking shit. So I had a conversation with them, and I didn't tell them like details. I just told them I was abused and stuff because, they don't need to know the details. That's for sure. Abuse is abuse in its own way. They're my kids, you know what I mean? I'm not supposed to put stuff like that on them. And with me is like, this is what I mean with the stages and stuff. Like I'm at the stage now where now I'm just a burden on them. Like I can't be talking to my kids about the shit and trauma I had when I was a kid, and then fucking suicide and stealing fucking cars and robbing stores and burning churches, all that kind of stuff. You don't talk to your kids about that. So, but yeah, I guess to answer that, yeah, I had a talk with them, I guess. Yeah.
What happens a few years ago that you sort of get popped back into the darkest stuff? Not, I don't know if the word's dark, but where you lay on the tracks and whatever else happens. What's going on there?
I hit my head at work, head injury at work, and just things were coming to me. Like I've always had ever since abuse, I've always had images of abuse. And it seems like after that head injury, it's just, I'm thinking about it 10 times as much, it feels like. And I can't get rid of them. And like, I'm getting more night terrors than I've ever gotten before in my life. But everything's fucking changing. Like, I don't sleep on beds anymore. I just, I just sleep on couches. And it's embarrassing. Like, it really fucking is embarrassing. I'm 54 and I know none of that abuse is going to happen. And, I know it would never happen again to me, but it just shoots in my mind all the time. And I can't get it out. You can't talk about it. Everybody I've talked to about this that were so-called maybe friends or whatever, I've never talked to them again. Like, and I don't blame them. Like, how do you talk to a man about this type of shit? Like, you can't. Like, I understand. People like me we're supposed to just fall through the cracks and stuff because nobody wants to hear shit that was against the Catholic system. Nobody wants to hear how the government fucking failed in horrible ways. And that's probably why I'm here right now, is I really don't give a fuck anymore. My first time when I laid on the tracks, it wasn't to do with, well, I guess it had to do with mental health, but was because I was getting headaches. I would get headaches from hitting my head, and they would last for like sometimes 2 to 3 days. And it was just, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and it was just pounding and pounding. And that's what caused the suicide attempt on the tracks. Just, I couldn't live with the headaches anymore.
Well, I assume the train did not come.
No, the police did. I got formed one by my doctor, and they put the cuffs on you and bring you to jail. And I mean, I'm bringing you to the fucking mental institution. And, it went really bad there. Like that whole experience is so wrong in so many ways. Like I think that one experience there can cause suicide for some people. It's so embarrassing and so horrible when, they got the cuffs on you, watching you like you're some kind of criminal, and they walk you past all these people in cuffs, and then they just throw you in some room. And I did 3 days in that place, and it got bad. It got bad to the point where I phoned 911 on the hospital. Yeah.
What did they say? What did 911 say?
I really can't remember.
I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
It was funny. I feel so bad too, because the guy that was the lead guy on this, real big guy, he was a big muscle guy, and I was calling him princess and all that kind of stuff. And
you were looking to fight.
Yeah, got to the point where they had to put a needle in me and hold me down. And like that whole experience, like you don't want people to know that. It's embarrassing. It really is. That happened it happened another time. And then I had some police checks in the last few years too. And it's just really embarrassing the way the system is done that way. Like I can imagine how it would be for women. I don't know if they put the cuffs on them, but I've talked to a few women before, and that one experience right there is what's causing all the grief in their life from now on. Is when they were hauled to some mental institution in front of all their friends and family, and everybody thinks they're all mental cases now.
It's a big deal. Yeah, the way they do it often. How many attempts have you had since that 3 days in the hospital?
My next one was, I wouldn't say they're attempts. I was talking to an occupational therapist, just a young girl. She phoned the police on me. The police came over and gave me a welfare check at this building. I had to talk them out of not sending me to the institution. Then the next time, I don't want to be a trigger or give anybody ideals or shit like that, but I bought some charcoal. I put the charcoal in the can. And before I did that, I told somebody that I was going to do that. And the police came and threw me in jail again. Or not jail, fucking. Well, they put the cuffs on you right away. Like you're walking out of the car, like the cuffs are on you as soon as your arm's out the door. And then after that, I tried purchasing the monoxide. It's just fucking embarrassing to even talk about when I think about it. It's so fucking humiliating.
So that begs the question, Kevin. Why did you reach out to me to talk if you feel like it's so humiliating and embarrassing?
Because maybe there's some other people out there that think the same thing as I do, that the embarrassment of just talking about it or having that cliche of a diagnosis. Like they say I got suicide ideology or ideation or whatever the fuck it is. They say I got complex PTSD. They say I got, now the new one is 2 months ago, they say I got ADHD. And, they just keep on throwing all this shit at you, but yet there's nothing, like, I don't see anybody for like any help. I just feel like for somebody like me, a therapist isn't the best thing where they bring you to the edge of the cliff for that half an hour and then you don't see them for the next week. I don't know. That's just the way I see it. Maybe if it was something else, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But for me, that deep, dark stuff that you guys want to bring up and want me to face, it's like I'll face it, but fucking don't just leave me there and fucking, I've proven I can't do this on my fucking own. Like,
do you think when we're done talking, you're going to dip down? Is it going to make it worse for you?
What will make it worse for me is just the fact that the shame involved in it and the guilt and the embarrassment. I've lost so many friends to fucking suicide. I've had friend die right in front of me from suicide. And I look and it's just like fucking, like with the young kids, it's like, oh, fuck, you guys got everything in front of you, man. You're going to get through this fucking shit. And, I say that now I'm 54 and I'm fucking the worst it's ever been.
When was the last time you tried?
6-7 days ago. It was stupid. That's what it was. It's just stupid. I just lied in bed, put a cord around my neck, and I thought that if I tied it around the bedpost and in the middle of doing it, I'm saying to myself, you're a fucking idiot, man. Like, look what you're fucking doing. Like, it's just fucking stupid. And that's basically why I stopped. And this is what I like about the talking about it part is that when you talk about it, you kind of realize how fucking immature and irresponsible and how fucking, I don't even know the words for it. It's got nothing to do with the act of the dying itself. It's just, I just don't want to have these fucking feelings anymore. I waited 3 years to talk to a psychiatrist. Since I was injured at work, where I'm from, the government takes care of all that shit. And so I went and seen this, you can't make this shit up. You really fucking can't. He told me something about like, he thinks I would exaggerate. And then he said to me that he finds it unusual that trauma would just come up after 20, 30 years and stuff. And I said, well, I don't know. You tell me. I got hit on the head. It's my ex-wife, my kids. Everybody says I've changed. I feel I've changed. I'm on the couch fucking 18 hours a day, drink one boost with a handful of pills that I got to take for my health. And I get no more than 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep. If I'm lucky, like how far down do you have to fucking go? He just basically made it seem like there's just no way that trauma can come back after all those years. And so I went and I told people this, and I told my doctors and friends and people that know mental health, and they said, they basically looked at me like, no way, he wouldn't say something like that, a psychiatrist. He's just a kid. He's probably in his mid-30s. I was telling him stories about burning churches and shit like that and doing horrible things, and he just doesn't understand it.
He's in the wrong job.
And this is where it gets bad. So I'm feeling really humiliated. So I brought my ex-wife in with me. This just happened last week. He said the exact same thing to her about everything about there's no way and he thinks this. And then he tried to blame it on her. He was asking her how much she made, if she gives me money, when she came over here from a different country and all that kind of stuff. And I said, hey man, I said, we're not here for marriage counseling. And, I told him that, like I'm in crisis mode right now. I told him I tried a few days ago or last week and da 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 da. And like, that's the system.
Yeah, a lot of them are fucking idiots. That's just really all it is.
They work hard. They 6, 7 years of university. I'd be proud to call any of them my children. You know what I mean? All the work that it takes to get there. But it's like a mechanic talking to an electrician. You know what I mean? They're just not going to get the apples and oranges make difference, right?
How did you learn about this podcast?
Well, I was told by somebody, since I had a lot of suicide attempts, like to put a plan and all that kind of shit. And I was told that by somebody that's pretty special to me. And so now every time I try to think of it, I'll do things before I get to that point. Like my biggest thing is I got a tattoo of my daughter's names on my arm. And every time I think of my daughters, everything goes away. You don't want to disappoint them, for one. They just bring good, happy times. Just
So your friend told you about the podcast?
And I can't believe I went there just for you asking me that question. I just looked and looked for help. They say I have suicidal ideation. Okay, I agree with that or whatever. But so I got this major problem that could be life or death, I guess you could say. But yet I'm not allowed to talk about it. And if I do talk about it, I get somebody that says to me, if you say this, you say this, you say this, you know what I mean? I have to do something. And I understand you have to, but if I can't talk about this major problem or this thing that I'm having without saying more than a few sentences, and then you're going to phone the police on me and put me in the hospital, the red tape says that you have to, how am I supposed to get any help? We have these hotlines where it's like 988 and all that shit. And, I love these people. Like they volunteer their time and it must be tough. And here I am, I'm on hold for like almost 10 minutes. And here I am, grown fucking man. I'm on here on a suicide hotline when there could be some fucking other kid, 15, with a gun or a fucking pill bottle or something to their mouth. And they're on hold too. And I'm taking their fucking time. So I would hang up a lot. Like when it comes to suicide, you cannot even mention it. All these professionals out there, they say, oh, go talk to somebody you trust and you got to talk about it. You have to, and you have to. That's a bunch of shit. You go talk to anybody and if you be truthful, you're going to be spending 3 days in a fucking mental institution.
There's a lot of like just bullshit, non-transparency, or just simply naivete. So you find this podcast because you're looking for something on whatever, and you listen to a little bit, I imagine, and then you email me.
Yes. Everybody handles their own stories and trauma and shit in different ways, right? I've been hearing a lot of stories about suicide, and I agree with a lot of what people say, and I disagree with a lot of what people say, mostly the professionals. But when it gets bad is when you're not angry anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not angry anymore. Like I don't have really any feelings, and now all my feelings that I had about suicide, and they're all exchanged with guilt and shame and embarrassment, and I just don't want anybody to know anymore. And like honestly, in the last 3 years, I've had 4 wellness checks, and I was in the hospital twice, and I haven't even like talked about suicide. They just ask a question like, "Are you suicidal?" I said, "Yeah." "You think about it?" "Yeah." "Have you thought of a plan?" "Oh yeah, I thought of a plan all the time." "You got any ways of doing it?" "Oh yeah, 100 different ways." "Do you this? Do you that?" "Yeah, yeah. I think about it. Think about it." Boom. Like that's the end of the conversation. The police are there. Just fucking listen. Like just listen and maybe give some advice. But it's just the fucking system is fucking wrong, man. I'm telling you.
Just Fucking Listen is a good memoir title, Kevin. I don't know if you know about my memoir title crafting skills, but if you were ever going to write a book, a memoir, I like that as a title. Just Fucking Listen. In fact, I like this title. You ready? Time's Up. Subtitle, Just Fucking Listen. Ink it in, baby. How many people know we're talking?
One, my ex-wife.
How many people do you have in your life to talk to in a way, we were just talking about this, where you could talk about suicide and they don't freak out. They don't send you to the police. They don't do this. They just, quote, fucking listen. How many?
No one. 0.
When this episode comes out, And it's going to take a little while, unless you want me to bump it up, and I will. And I offer that in case people are really ready to kind of check out and they want to hear it. Do you think you'll listen?
No, probably not because I get embarrassed and
Do you think there's anyone in the world you would share it with? Like, hey, here's a link. I'm not going to listen, but you might want to hear what I have to say.
yeah, I guess I will, but I think it's just going to look bad because of the things I said. It's hard to explain a whole life's worth of trauma and shit for the bullet points.
I know. I wish it were different.
Nothing against you or your podcast. Like if it wasn't for you and your podcast, then who would I be talking to, right? Any talk I think is good talk when it comes about suicide. I really do because I got some other trauma too. That's just I get on like a weekly basis. I have for like the last 34 years or 35 years, and it just makes life hard to deal with.
Yeah. Are most of your attempts kind of secrets? I'm gauging they are. I'm sensing they are.
Maybe. Yeah, I'd say they're secrets. Like I don't like the only reason I think I got caught the last time is because they had GPS on my phone. It wasn't an hour after I said that, then the police were putting me in the back of the car that one day. I was living out of my Jeep though, so times were pretty tough back then.
Getting really interesting if you like Google something or you ask Alexa or any of that stuff. Does it start to connect with the local authorities with certain things and then they can just boom show up?
I don't know, but well, that whole thing, just so you know, is I wish they could change that because when you put the cuffs on somebody, like when I was younger, that was everything in life was not to get the cuffs on you. When you get those cuffs on you, you're done. The humiliation is beyond fixing. Like it's the damage is done, and it's such an embarrassment. I wish they would change that way of that whole system, especially with people that aren't really dangerous.
Yeah, of course. I only have a couple more questions and then, add anything else you want. I like hearing what you've got to say. Do you ever wish any of those attempts, particularly when you were younger, had just worked?
I would have to say now that I have two daughters, no. Like if I ever get remembered for anything in life, it would. I hope it's just that I did the best I could for my daughters. That's all I care about anymore.
What helps you feel not really bad or shitty or even suicidal? Does anything like day to day make you feel a little better?
When I was younger, I had lots of ways, and now that you're older, you can't do them. Like, well, the best time in my life, most memorable time, is when my daughter was born. But my second memorable time, I remember taking acid, and I was, I think, 17 or 18, and I set fire to a church inside, and I was sitting back in the pews, like near the back, and I'm actually watching it catch on fire, and it's just filling up with smoke. And I'm telling you, when I think about that, it's like the best therapy. Brings this biggest smile to my face, and I felt so good. Like the church didn't burn to the ground; just the inside of it was burnt. But
Just
so
to be clear, Kevin and I are not encouraging anybody to go burn churches. He's simply sharing something he did. That put a smile to his face.
did it ever, still to this day. Like I always fought against religion, and then when that abuse happened with the priest, and it happened for 7 months out of the 9 months I was there, they called it basically rape. Well, like that's what they called it back in the day, and it was really sadistic. The stuff that went on was I can't even explain it. The worst thing I got from it with trauma is the fact that when he would do these things, he'd put like a sock or a shirt over my mouth so that they wouldn't hear me scream because it was in two different buildings, right? Back then, like you would hear kids scream and you really wouldn't think anyone. Cause remember, this is a really bad place for people on drugs. Most of the time, I can't remember what actually happened to me, like sexually abused, but I remember fighting for air to the point where it's hard to explain. Like I know maybe people have had a cherry belly where they lose their air in their stomach. They get hit in the stomach and they can't breathe and they're gasping for that air. That's what it was like almost every time I was abused so that nobody would hear the screaming. That stuck with me my whole life. Now it was tough to put things in my mouth, brush my teeth, close my eyes and my mouth when I'm having a shower. It bring on anxiety attacks. And sleeping was, oh, fuck. It was horrible. It was just weird. Ever since I had that bang on my head, I just think about that stuff so much more all day and all night. And I don't know what it is. I'm not a fucking doctor. This is what's going on.
I don't know how much of the podcast you've heard, but I always ask about myths or misconceptions, and you've brought some up. They've sort of come up, but are there any other myths or misconceptions around? And it could be a lot of things, just not just suicide related, but stuff you've gone through that you want to dispel and say, no, it's bullshit.
I would have to say the fact that suicide is really big. Like I didn't realize like so many people died from suicide. Is like they say that it's has more than murders and all that. And you think about all the movies and everything we've done about murders and all the money we put towards it, but yet people are killing themselves twice as much. You can't even talk about the word without like the stigma behind the word is just and it happens to a lot of men, which is another thing. Like nobody really gives a fuck about other men.
I think there's some truth to that for sure. Yeah.
Every man has their own journey, and it's like we really don't give a shit when it comes to the feelings part of it, like that kind of stuff. At least that's how I am. Like, sure, I care, but I can't help some fucking guy with that's been abused. Like, it's just a guy's mentality is just showing weakness, and
Everybody's unique, right? And if you're not just quote fucking listening, you're never going to understand that. How would you? How would you be able to know that other than like what you physically see? I see Kevin, he's this height, he's got a beard. Like, what else would you know?
exactly because when I was growing up, the people that actually did commit suicide were the ones that you didn't think would. They were more like the quiet ones and the more of the ones that kept to themselves and stuff. And people always say, oh, I never saw the signs and all that. And maybe you just weren't looking for the signs or you seen the signs and you didn't know how to deal with them. And
100%. If I gave you a pink and purple pill, Kevin, ready? Magically, right now. Take the pill, you go to sleep, you die. No pain. Nobody even knows it's a suicide.
I'd probably take it.
Right now in your car, would you go home and chill a little bit, say goodbye, do something, have a drink, smoke a cigarette?
No, I don't even know how to answer that now because I get so terrified that you're going to fucking phone the cops and I'm going to be in.
Oh, shit, really?
Oh, yeah. It's like that. Like where I'm from, like you can't say more than a few words, your sentences, and it's protocol that they just have to phone on you. Like,
You just feel like you just can't say it.
no, I'd just be afraid that you would call.
No, fuck, Kevin, fuck. I have no podcast.
Um,
I think I have a sense of what you would do with the pill. That's enough. You're going to be alive for 55?
well, I'll tell you, like the thing with the psychiatrist where he basically, said that trauma doesn't come up after years and basically saying that like I'm basically lying or whatever like that. I feel better now that my ex got to witness all that. So now it's like clarification. Like it makes me feel better to tell you the truth. Like now that she knows that this is what's actually going on. No offense, but I'm not a doctor. I'm just a normal human being. But somebody who says stuff like that, they shouldn't have a job, especially when they know that the person is suicidal and they told it right to their face. Like, and then you sit there and say, "Oh, that I went off course again tonight."
But I like when you go off course. Like, this isn't supposed to be perfectly linear and like neat, comfortable, easy answers. Like, shit's hard.
Oh, here's another thing too: is it's like I done a lot of really bad shit, so maybe I deserve it. I think I do. I got a bad heart too. All these years I was getting these anxiety attacks. The one time I thought it was an anxiety attack, but it wasn't. I was actually having a heart attack, so I had open heart surgery and all that kind of shit, heart attacks. So now a heart attack and a panic attack are kind of like the same things. Every time I have my panic attack, which is 3, 4 times a week, sometimes 2, 3 times a day. It just depends on whatever's going on. I don't know if I'm going to be dying now. And that's another reason too why I've been waiting to see a psychiatrist is because they can't put me on different meds because the meds I'm on for blood pills and blood thinners and heart and all that because it affects the other one. So I've been waiting, and I still 3 years now, and I still haven't changed my meds or nothing. I'm still at square one. Like if anything, I've gone ahead one step and went backwards too, and trying just to get help. It just doesn't make sense. I just feel bad in my own way when I know that's going to be done to children like that too. You know what I mean? If it's happening to me, then it must be happening to kids. And the crime stuff was really, it's a lot of guilt too, you live with too. And that's some of the reason why suicide was more on my mind too. Like I've actually held gun to people's heads before and robbed them for money. It's a real sickening thing because it's funny. My therapist, she actually become a therapist or a psychologist because somebody robbed her at a 7-Eleven store. I'm thinking to myself, I did that. Like, look how many lives I could have ruined and stuff and all the crime and just for the drugs and to get by, like stealing rings that they've had their whole lives, and then you pawn it off for get some drugs, and it seems like there's not enough good I can do to feel like I'm making a difference or I'm good or anything like that.
That may be true, but I do appreciate you talking to me. So at least there will be people who hear this. And like you said, the reason you came on and talking was to help people out, maybe. And you're trying. I mean, that's all we can do, right? We try.
I'm in a program right now. I'm doing CBT, and like here I am. I'm telling them I'm on my couch for like 17, 18 hours of the day. I'm eating less than anything in 24 hours. I don't even drink bottles of water. Like all I do is drink coffee and eat shit foods, and I get no sleep. And then they put me in some class and they tell me, oh, you got to read a chapter, and then we're going to have 4 pages of homework for you to do. Do you realize that, like, I can't even get off my ass and make a fucking piece of toast? Like I'm back at the basics now. This is the whole embarrassing part about it. Like laying on the couch all night, all day long, and not doing nothing, and over and over and over again. You see these fucking videos from all these fuckers saying do this and do that, and this, you're a loser and all that. Nothing to do with suicide. And they're telling me how to improve my mental health. It's just
Right. So most of your days, and including today, it's early afternoon where we are. You gotta just chill on the couch.
I was injured at work. They don't let you do anything. I can't even do fucking volunteer work. I tried plugging for like the last 2.5 years to do volunteer work. And now they finally say, oh, you can do volunteer work. So I was involved in a system that was just made me sit on my ass for like 3 years and wouldn't let me do anything. And that's how I was to get paid. I had to do what they, just like this course I'm in. And like here I am, I'm doing this course that I waited over 2 years to get into. I'm in crisis mode still, like with not eating and sleeping and taking my pills not properly. And there's all these people waiting that it could help. Like it's not, the CBT is not going to benefit me. If I say to them, it's not working or it's not going to work, it's just like I'm the bad guy for not taking any help, or I look like the person that doesn't want to get help. That's not what it is. Like, I don't know. I don't give a fuck about your fucking acronyms and shit. Like, it's just like all those fucking religious people that they say, oh, I'm going to pray for you. Instead of praying for me, why don't you come over and fucking make me a sandwich? Bring me a fucking coffee, or just talk to me instead of saying, I'm going to pray for you. Like, what the fuck does praying do for me? Like, with me is I can't get help in a lot of ways. Like I went to the NA and I went to the AA and all of those places like that, but they're all run with religious stuff. So when it comes to do with religion, like why would I want to put myself in a triggering situation over and over and over again? I don't want to give thanks to God. Okay. Like if I had my way, one of the best things I'd love to do, I'll tell you, I'd love to do this. To fucking burn that Vatican to the fucking ground, man. And I'll fucking piss on it. And I'll fucking put it out as much as I can. I just can't stand the fact that fucking makes me mad that all these kids were abused. Like really fucking abused, and it fucked up so many lives. And they just bury that shit underneath the fucking carpet. You can't even talk about it now. It's like, if I talk about it, it's like, oh, you're saying something about God fucking wrong. And anybody who does anything against children, you want some therapy, you want me to get better, let me fucking take care of them. I'll say to the taxpayer millions and billions, and I'll do it for free. In my day, like if you talked or said something bad to a woman, you're going to get it from an uncle or a cousin or a brother or a friend. Like you're going to get an ass kicking. And like there was always trouble. If you did something wrong, you were going to get in trouble for it. And nowadays it's like you don't get in trouble for it anymore.
Your ex-wife, who you've brought up, went with you to the psychiatrist and helped you craft the original email. Who's been a part of this with you. Do you think she will listen to this conversation when it comes out?
She'll be interested in it for sure. What have I got to hide anymore? I've done as much as I think I can, and doesn't even fizz on me as much as it did anymore, just because of the fact that when you get to this point, I have no more feelings. You know what I mean? Like there's no more, like even some of the guilt and all this is going away. Oh, one thing I did want to say to you before you said that about that magic pill. In Canada, I signed up twice now for something called MAID, and it's where they help you kill yourself. When I was tried to kill myself, I phoned MAID, and these guys talked to me right away. They called me back within an hour. I was talking to a doctor the very next day. They were already making arrangements in that week to get all the information from all my doctors and therapists to help me kill myself. Meanwhile, I waited 3 years to see a psychiatrist to try to stay alive. But if you want to kill yourself, holy shit, man, up here in Canada, years ago, it used to be for people with mental health problems. They would kill you. And I'm not lying. This is the Canadian government. But when I applied for it, they stopped that. So I couldn't do it for the mental health reasons. So I signed up again for it like 6 months ago and basically accept it. But my doctor is not going to allow because she knows that it's for mental health reasons. Because now they passed another law where it can't be for mental health reasons. Yeah, I tried to do it with my heart and my kidneys. I got bad heart and kidneys and stuff, but it didn't work. And I'll tell you, when I applied for that program, I felt so good. That was around the only time in my life besides raising my daughter, but I still thought about it, where I didn't even think of suicide because it was like, holy cow, I'm going to go into a hospital and they're going to give me a needle and I'm going to fall asleep and I'm not going to wake up. Everybody I talk to, therapists and doctors, they're behind me. They're like, they want to hold my hand through this fucking struggle I'm going through. It is the most fucked up thing you'd ever believe, how somebody is willing to hold your hand to fucking kill yourself when it isn't have to do like with a life-threatening situation. I've tried to take that pill and I would take that pill. They just won't allow me to take that pill. A cleaner and healthier way of doing it.
For sure. Right. That's a big part of this whole thing is like to be
Like,
able to do it. You know, you want it to work and you want it to not be painful and you want it to not hurt other people. You know, I mean, it's a dignity thing. That's what they call it, right? All right, Kevin, anything else you want to share before we get back to our lives?
Anybody out there that's thinking of, doing it or it's in their mind, just all I can say is that you can turn the shit around. And I can't even say that, to tell you the truth. It's like I'm that therapist preaching to the choir type of thing, It's it's
That's what it is, man. I hope your day doesn't suck for real. And let's connect again, okay?
Hey, thanks a lot, eh? I appreciate everything.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support, and special thanks to Kevin up in Ontario. Thanks, Kevin. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, please reach out. Our email is hello@suicidenoted.com, and I would really love to talk with you. You can learn more about this podcast in the show notes, the podcast description. There's all kinds of stuff there. Check it out if you are curious. But mostly, I just hope that you keep listening. And that is all for episode number 265. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I will talk to you soon.